Dear Grace, I said I wasn't going to record any more of these. And I may or may not publish this one. So we'll see. Either way, for sure, this is the last one we're ever going to record. No matter what. Back where I started this whole Dear Grace business, sitting in the exact same spot where I called you a stripper. Because let's face it, you might be, I don't know. I only know your day job, not your night job. I assumed you were a writer, but writer, stripper, you both have stories to tell. Anyway, I need content for a movie script I'm writing. So I'm going to practice my stand-up over and over and over and over again until I get one decent 3-minute set, riff, bit, joke, concept, whatever. And then I'll let AI extract that out for me so I don't have to type this shit. I think it's outrageous that people would have to type in this day and age. So that's the plan, Grace. And since I'm using AI, I'll continue with my psychobabble in between bits. Just to get this shit out of my head. If you missed hearing my voice, Grace, sorry, but you know where to find me. You know my routine. Just say, wouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. There's an Elon joke in there somewhere. Haven't figured it out yet. I'm still waking up. At the park, it's outside, it's sunny. At some point. I'll wake the fuck up. You can probably tell by the background noise, Grace. I was denied at the library. All the studios were full, and I didn't book ahead. I think tomorrow's Easter, some bullshit. Means I'm not going to be able to record until Saturday. That one's probably going to be booked up because then they're closed Sunday and Monday. Fucking holidays closed for 3 days, but not in a fucking row. Get rid of Easter. Hi, I'm David. I'm a retired autistic senior. I say, get the fuck rid of Easter. It's a waste of time. Nobody cares when Jesus died. Move on with it. I think they'd be a good opener at the Vatican, Grace. Give them something to think about. Give them a little ha-ha. Do you think they all have Team Jesus jerseys that they secretly wear at night? While watching the Passion of the Christ like a hockey game? Just wondering, Grace. Hi, I'm David. I'm a retired artistic senior. I'm retired because of memory issues. Don't worry, it's not the bad kind where you forget your friends and family. It's the good kind where you forget your friends and family. Keeping that as my opener, Grace. Don't give a fuck what anyone says. Ever. Also slightly inspired by Lambo Guy. Was doing a daily vlog. I forgot how enjoyable it was to speak to you like this. But not all the other fuckers listening. They can all fuck off. But then again, if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? Nobody's there. If I record this and nobody listens to it, does it count? A philosophical thought for the day, Grace. I think I made a mistake, Grace, of only writing personal antidote humor. And the mistake I made is I'll get too bored with that set after the first or second night. So I have to find a way to mix in day-to-day shit. Sure, maybe stuff that affects me, but maybe now I'll get a little more political. Dig into the big issues. But not that fake news bullshit. There are a lot of weirdos in Vancouver, but there are all over the world. So, Donald Trump, you want Canada to become the 51st state? Make us an offer. Better yet, I'll make you an offer. Here's my deal, Donald. Sure, we'll become the 51st state, but you're gonna have to make it a pretty sweet deal. Starting with the border stays as is, no guns in Canada other than the guns that are already allowed in Canada until Canadians decide otherwise. So in a sense, Canada's going to be your 51st state, but it's going to be a bit of a sovereign state to start with. It's going to be a slow burn. You're not just going to tear down the borders and bring in your AKs. Got that Donald. Same goes for the military. You're already here. But we'll talk about the military later. So before we're going to become the 51st state, Donald. Guns thing is one. The second thing is you need to take over Canada's debt. Or in other words, wipe it out. So Canada becomes a 51st state, but it's debt free. And to sweeten the deal, Donald, this is my proposal. Canada's government rich, just like the US. Don't need all this fucking government. Well, let's take a look at it from the provincial level first. Basically, what I'm going to propose is the current federal government, even though it's a piece of shit crap government, just my opinion, Grace and Donald. The current federal becomes the new quote-unquote state, although Canada doesn't want to be called a state, so Canadians will still call it Canada. The states can call it whatever the fuck they want. Just a fucking name, just like the Gulf of Mexico changed to the Gulf of America and nobody gave a fuck. Same thing for Canada. So now you're wondering, what do we do with all these provincial governments? They're so crucial to running the country and keeping the citizens safe and fed and everything else. First off, let's take a look at what's the same in every damn province. As an example, driver's license, car registration. Insurance is a little different depending on the province, but that can be fixed. So on and so forth. Any of these departments or whatever, that when you move to another province you have to waste your fucking time going to get a new driver's license, going to get new registration, new fucking plates, new fucking insurance, make a fucking deal with the insurance company, shop around, blah blah blah. Fuck that. One system all across Canada for most of that shit. Now if you're in the Maritimes or on the West Coast and you have ferries and shit, yeah, maybe that's a department that doesn't really apply to the rest of Canada. However, again, it doesn't need to be the British Columbia ferries. Or it could be the British Columbia ferries, but it's run by the federal quote-unquote government, which, like the US, will be down to next to nothing by the time I'm done this conversation. So we basically cut out every single provincial premier, MP, or whatever the fuck they're called. All that bullshit. Because ultimately, I'm living in BC, And the Saskatchewan government is advertising on the train that you hear going by me right now. So what the fuck is the point of that? Like, anyone in fucking BC cares about Saskatchewan's growth? Who gives a shit? Nobody does. So it's either one Canada and the entire country figures out what's good for Saskatchewan and good for BC and good for Alberta and good for fucking everybody, especially the fucking homeless people. It's what a waste of time and money. All these different governments promoting each other. Ooh, buy Saskatchewan potash. Buy Alberta oil. So we eliminate all those. Or I guess what we do is we see if the current federal system, meaning all the current departments and the ones that we can get rid of because they're bullshit, if enough of the provincial people can go over to the federal side to give people a federal Canadian license, because we'll still need a license bureau every 10 feet in Vancouver. Then great. If not, then as part of the deal, Donald has to pay all those people some severance pay for a year, just like he did in the US. Good for the goose, good for the gander. Donald. Speaking of that, as a gift to Canadians, not only do you wipe out the Canadian debt, as in government debt, or take over it, you do the same for every single person's income tax bill for the next 10 years. Which, if you think about it, is a good deal. Normally they'd say the next 50 years or 100 years, but in 10 years, we'll all be cyborgs anyway, so that's good enough. And let's face it, Donald, you're going to rape the shit out of our environment. You're going to cut down every tree you can find, pump every piece of oil out of the ground, suck that natural gas up. You're going to go to town on our resources. Quite frankly, I'm okay with that because you really can't take that much more than we have already. You don't feel like you are, but all you're really doing is getting at a lower cost, which I understand from a business standpoint is a good idea. All for it. Plus the stupid F tariffs when things like aluminum go across the border 2 or 3 times. And you're tariffing it every time. And either make it a fucking tax or guys, don't worry about it. Just listen to the rest of my idea, Donald. You'll love it. So every Canadian's tax bill is wiped out, and for the next 10 years they don't have to pay income tax. There's no more provincial tax. Gone. History. All the different provincial medical systems are basically the same. They can all be merged. And then Americans are welcome to come up and live here without their guns. They, of course, have to pay full income tax. Or I guess that's kind of like a state tax now, whatever you want to call it. But we'll be the only debt-free state / province / country. Oh, and as a special treat, Donald, we'll get rid of Prime Minister because you can't seem to remember that. And we'll change the leader to governor. And to make this governor, what we'll do is hold an open election where anyone can put their name on the ballot. Anyone at all. And because 2 people could have the same name, we'll figure out some unique identifier. So in my case, if there's 2 David Josephs, it'd be David Joseph A, David Joseph B, and then me, David Joseph C, which stands for the cunt. Then the entire population Canada, over 18 votes, and whoever becomes the governor becomes the governor. And they don't really have a lot of power, but they get to spout off a lot. Just like you, Donald. A lot of pretend power, but never really works out for he does it. Fucking tariffs, eh? All that steel doesn't do a lot of good if you don't have the electricity to melt it. But let's go back to my offer. A few more things we need. We need to end homelessness like quick. In a sign of good faith, you need to show that you can do it in your own country first. Or if you want to do it in our country first, send the money up this way. We'll do it that way too. Well, to be fair, once we get rid of all this government overhead, there should be a shitload of money. Because I never say get rid of provincial taxes. Sorry, Donald. Back to the noisy spot. Had to take a break. Pretty girl walked by. Got me all confused. Forgot about the homeless. That's my deal. Case in point, Donald, and no, you can't make this shit up. They could be going to save an elderly person. Instead, they're probably fighting through traffic to transport a homeless person to the hospital who doesn't need to be homeless. Waste of resources. Also, all the unions can merge. It doesn't have to be like a paramedics union for BC and Alberta and Saskatchewan, blah, blah, blah. What a waste. What a fucking waste. Plus, AI can start doing all this shit too. Maybe that should be the deal, Donald. You get everyone to build their AI plants in Canada. So Canadians get all that job. You need our electricity to run the fucking things anyways. You guys will take fucking decades to build a goddamn nuclear plant. By then, AI will already have controlled us, so just a suggestion, Donald. Since I'm on a roll, actually a whole bunch of CPUs in a warehouse isn't going to bring that many jobs. However, let's assume it does, one way or the other. Or income, or passive income. Maybe all Canadians get it all cut. Do this like the mob. All the original Canadians get two things, Donald. First, you end the homelessness problem, and that can be done with money and resourceful people, which you have at your disposal, like Elon and everyone else. I personally would tell Joe Rogan to give it a shot, but that's just me. But as a safety net, and just in case, every Canadian who's currently alive, who was born within the first year of Canada becoming the 51st state, I'll say that, Donald, because I know you like to hear that in your mind, 51st state, right? So I'll play your little hypnotic game. So Canada becomes a 51st state, but any Canadian who's already Canadian, or any of their kids or newborn kids in the first year, are all automatically grandfathered in. And if any of those people ever need a place to stay, the government either provides them one of suitable accommodation, or give them 1 acre of land for the rest of their natural born life, which is then inheritable by their children, etc., etc. All I'm saying is, Canada has a fuckload of acres. I've done the calculation. It's basically 66 acres per person, I think. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but not all 40 million people would need it. Let's say worst case scenario, current situation in Canada, 100,000 homeless across the country. So give up 100,000 acres right now. Tell them to pitch your tent there. You're going to be safe, and we're going to figure it out. Instead of moving them every fucking day from one location to another, or you can't sleep there today, you can't sleep there tomorrow. What a waste of resources. I would say stuff like no NSA or CIA in Canada, but they've probably infiltrated us as much as they have you, so it doesn't really fucking matter. What else? Not sure if I've even looked at it from the average Canadian's point of view, because I'm not really an average Canadian. I'm a comedian. Comedian, not a Canadian. Canadian comedian. Tomato, tomato. I'm David, retired autistic senior. I live at a house full of pretty international students. I guess I should say pretty female international students. None of the men are pretty, but none of them live on my floor. Ones that live on my floor all have long black hair. It's driving me fucking insane. I mean, I get it. But do you really have to stick it on the wall of the shower? Either wash it down the drain, or pack it out like garbage on a hike. Whatever you bring in, you bring out. I should probably say something, but I won't. Because I'm David, retired autistic senior. Also the world's greatest actor. Just like you, Donald. A couple of actors. Alright, back to this deal. For 10 years, Canadians don't have to pay income tax. So that means everyone gets an instant 25% raise or more. housing prices are already through the roof. So that's good because Americans can come up and spend their money. We'll push the prices up further. And anyone who's retiring will make a good profit on their house. And then they can go get a cabin by the lake. Or request their 1 acre free and go live in a tent, whatever the fuck they want to do, their business. By the way, if Americans are hunting, they can bring their guns up. They just can't bring sidearms. This isn't the fucking Wild West. We're going to keep socialized medicine, Donald. But here's the good news. Allows you to still have a two-tiered system. You guys can still do whatever mess you want in the other 50 states. The people living in Canada will enjoy the socialist system. And it's great for Canadians because if you're a rich Canadian, now you can just flop over that border like nothing, get your knee fixed, or your teeth fixed, or your eyes fixed, or whatever you think you can get fixed cheaper in the States. Go right fucking ahead. And you don't have the right to bitch and complain how long everything takes in Canada. We all know how fucking long it takes. Everyone can just stop bitching, complaining. Make the world a much better place. What do you think, Grace? Think Donald will listen to me? No? I've got more. Just wait. While I'm on a roll, Donald. You can't build any new military bases in Canada. However, good news is you can take over all of our existing military bases and upgrade them as long as it's on their existing land. You don't acquire any new land for military purposes whatsoever. And disband the entire Canadian military and give every fit soldier an early retirement. Whatever we seem fit. Oh, and I almost forgot Donald. Hockey. In the Olympics, Canada will retain the title of country and only be allowed to use Canadian players on their team. And the US will still have to suffer with your lackluster poor attempt to ever defeat us Other than a few years where probably half the players were drunk or something, I don't know. So yeah, on the international stage it's still Canada, Canadian players, Canadian born. The good news is, you send up a bunch of your American hockey nuts and they have babies up in Canada, then they're Canadian, then they're good to go. Well, they're Canadian state American citizen. I think almost every Canadian I know would hate this idea, which means it has to be fucking brilliant. Or at least entertaining. Or I'm crazy as fuck. Probably the last one. Dear Grace, applause break. Shit, yeah. I was trying to think what I forgot. Forgot about Quebec. It's kind of like that cousin you never talk about. I don't know what to say, Donald. You're just gonna have to do the best you can. The rest of Canada did the best they can. I would say find a way to take the Montreal vibe, which really isn't French. It's the biggest melting pot, I think, in the world that I've ever seen, but I haven't traveled the whole world, so how the fuck would I know? But I'd say Montreal is the biggest melting pot. Figure out what they did there and spread that through Quebec, and in no time it'll be as American as the rest of Canada. And don't fuck with the natives. Give them some sort of special deal. They never got a good deal the first time around.